But there was a very interesting story that popped up the other day, and this is not the first time that it happened. Now, of course, there isn't a modern story because this was only flashed across on Twitter. This didn't actually get picked up by news. Not surprisingly, why would it? It doesn't make the Democratic Party look good. But for those of you who...
Few things do.
For those of you who are probably aware of Ice Cube, he is
I really don't know very much about. I mean, I know who he is.
He's a rapper. He was an actor in one of the best. If you want to talk about a movie, if you want to know what urban plighted living is really like in the ghetto, if you haven't seen the movie Boys in the Hood, I would highly recommend it. He has a very prominent role in that film.
I know Ice-T more than Ice Cube.
Well, Ice Cube is as important as Ice-T.
Ice-T is Law and Order.
You can't have Ice-T without an Ice Cube. So there you go. So basically, what Mr. Cube has been saying is that the Black community should exit en masse from the Democratic Party. Now, why would he say that? The reason he's saying it is because in spite of all the lies and all the things that have happened since the mid-'60s, when LBJ said, I'll have the you-know-what's eating out of the palm of the Democratic Party's hands for the next 200 years by passing civil rights legislation and passing the Voting Rights Act, this is ostensibly what you've gotten, situations that have only gotten worse. Now, there are many reasons why that is the case, and not one is just saying that the Democratic Party has failed. The Republican Party, of course, has failed as well. Ice Cube was not out there advocating for people to leave the Democratic Party en masse and join the Republican Party. But there are gatekeepers within the Democratic Party who are basically telling him to get lost. He is hurting their community. Well, I don't know how much more hurt you can possibly be, but I think it's fair to say that the policies that we advocate for on our channel are the type of policies that would probably benefit communities of color that are suffering the most in this nation. Whether it is a living wage, labor organizing unionization, universal health care, ending the wars, criminal justice reform. I don't know about you, but I think that those things are pretty damn significant. And all the Democrats ever do is promise and break promises.
Yeah. Well, they're not really designed to do anything else anymore. That's all they are is Mick resistance. That's not real.
Yeah. And so, of course, when Joe Biden came out during his interview, and remember, Ice Cube and Charlamagne the God are very friendly. So when Joe Biden gave that late election interview on the Breakfast Club saying, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black, that's when Ice-T was like, F this it. Ice Cube. Damn it, Jen. Ice Cube. Ice Cube. Well, I can tell the difference, damn it. Ice Cube said, why even vote for the Democrats? This is BS. Why would you, if you think that you could get away, and it's not just anybody, it's Joe Biden, it's Jim Crow Joe.
I want to sit him down with Jim Clyburn and see how that conversation would go as to what they're doing now in terms of pulling this shit with the primaries, and how you have people like Clyburn that are basically saying that the black vote in South Carolina is enough basically that to win the day, that he'll be able to bring that for him.
Well, the thing
you can count on that.
The thing that I also found very interesting, and something that we hear constantly from the conservative right, is that if you look at all of the very blue areas of the United States, which typically are major cityscapes, and you look at the problems that exist within those cities, whether it's crime, whether it's famine, whether it's inequality, cost of living, redlining, blockbusting, all of those things, the argument is always, well, these are Democratic-run cities, but the argument's that, well, the Republicans are no better. Oh, you're just a Republican now. These cities are being held down because of the blah, 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 blah. But then Ice Cube comes out and says the same thing, and now ish is hitting the fan. And he's not wrong. There's a reason why the 2016 primary between Bernie and Hillary was so telling, because if you looked at the maps of where the voting broke down, Michigan and Wisconsin are two great examples. Two states that Hillary lost, two states that Bernie won, and ultimately Trump won. What you will find is that the biggest reason that Bernie was able to win Michigan is because the people of Flint went against the Democratic Party establishment and backed him instead of Hillary. That was the defining difference in Michigan. And the same thing ultimately happened in the state of Wisconsin. Now, Hillary still got Detroit, much like she still got Milwaukee, but the city of Madison went with Bernie Sanders. All too often, these major cities, especially the cities that are predominantly black, will always be in the Democratic establishment stranglehold. But when a Democratic populist like Bernie Sanders comes along, that's dangerous because that's waking people up to the realities of the broken system. And rather than listen, for example, to what Ice Cube is saying and thinking, you know what, maybe he's right. You know, maybe we do need to demand more instead of just saying we better vote for the Democrat, otherwise the Republicans are going to take over. Did you ever stop to think that maybe they're in it together? That maybe what they're doing is actually screwing all of us, but especially communities of color that are struggling every day? That's the bottom line. That's what we were talking about before with Carol about how the system is completely broken. Excuse me, because at the end of the day, corporate special interests have captured our government, and they have really captured the Democratic Party. That's not to say that they haven't captured the Republican Party. They certainly have. But I think we can both agree that the solution here is a completely different system than what we have right now, because this one sure as hell ain't working. And if there ever was an opportunity for, as I said earlier on status quo, if there ever was an opportunity for a Jesse Ventura or a Mark Cuban to run for president, this is it.
Please do so.
Right now.
Please.
Think about it. If
Save us, Obi-Wan.
And I'm pointing the finger at you, Jesse Ventura, and at you, Mark Cuban. If RFK, who's as pretty anti-vax, can, in the Democratic primary, already get polling up to 20% in many instances, what in the hell do you think will happen if you got into the race?
Well, they know what would happen, and Jesse knows what would happen. And again, he will get in the race if somebody would give him ballot access.
Well, it sure as hell ain't going to be the No Labels Party. I can assure you of that.
No. Well, the No Labels Party is not a friend of mine.
Definitely not. That is not the solution.
I don't know what is going on with you.
I had to adjust my shoe.
But you're like...
It happens.
Oh, my God.
I disagree off the rails. I think Ventura is very serious, but I also think at his age, he's only going to do this if he absolutely is not. He's only going to do it if it's serious. He's not going to do it.
He said he would. He has to have a party that has the infrastructure in place and ballot access. And that's just the way it is. Yeah. That's realistic. And people who get into it without that they're the ones who are not serious. That's the definition of not being serious.
I feel, but the one thing that I thought was very interesting regarding Ice Cube, and we'll leave it here. If you look at the responses that, the quote tweets about the fact that he said, leave the Democratic Party. That's exactly what he said. That's the only words he used, leave the Democratic Party. The overwhelming majority of people who were commenting that were black agreed with him. And the people who were not agreeing with him were people that, and again, we're not from their community. There are certain elements that are there that only members of their own community can deal with or identify. But it seemed to me that there is this major disconnect between the people who can see straight and the people who can't. And being able to see straight, even though the people who are not seeing straight know deep down that something's wrong and something's there, and they really should be questioning what's in front of them, no matter how much they try to scream fascism to you day in and day out, you have to know that the system's broken. And that at some point, collectively, the working class of this country must unite. History has proven it time and again, and we're there. Will we ever get our act together to do something about it is the question.
No. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.